Good morning and welcome to the Wolff Den, presented by Ticket Time Machine. I am Matt Wolff, founder and CEO of Ticket Time Machine. Today we welcome David Bakelman from the National Pancreas Foundation. Good morning, David. Thanks for joining us today.
Hey, Matt. Thanks for having me. Excited to talk to you this morning.
Yeah, so we're going to talk a lot about the pancreas today and a little background as to why this is a topic that is near and dear to me and very personal. Anyone who knows me well knows that my father passed away. This is my buddy Corey. My father passed away in 2005 from pancreatic cancer. It's a very nasty disease. We'll talk about that. But we do everything we can to support anything that advances, medicine for helping the pancreas. So, David, tell us a little bit about yourself first, and then how you got involved with the National Pancreas Foundation.
Okay, Matt. Thanks. So, my name is David Bakelman. I'm the CEO of the National Pancreas Foundation. I've been on board with NPF for about 10 months now, and my background over the last 20 years is really going into nonprofits as executive leadership position, and really going in with national and international charities that really don't have a strong brand but have a tremendous impact. So I welcome the opportunity we're based in Bethesda, Maryland, to come into the organization and get more people to learn about NPF, pancreas disease, pancreatitis, pancreatic cancer, and because especially over the last 6 months, with so many known deaths through pancreatic cancer, with Alex Trebek, U.S. Congressman John Lewis, Supreme Court Justice Ginsburg, and Hall of Fame pitcher, actually, Bob Gibson, all died from pancreatic cancer in the last 6 or 7 months. So, I just took the challenge to take this position, really grow this organization nationally, because we have such an impact in pancreas disease.
Yeah, great. Yeah, it's, that's an interesting point. That's when you have these celebrities who get something like this. Obviously, it's very tragic, but it does bring to light, and you have to sort of take advantage of, whatever spotlight you can. There's so much competition out there, and how do you differentiate and how do you get the attention of the people for what your cause is? Obviously, someone like me and my family, we're tied to pancreatic cancer, but someone who doesn't have a tie to any of that, how do you get, what's your strategy to getting them involved in something like that, as opposed to going elsewhere? And they're all good causes. All good causes.
Yeah, I agree, Matt. Any nonprofit with a strong mission impact is doing a great job, but it's a question of, like any for-profit business, whether it's a small business or a large corporation, number one is, how do you differentiate yourself from other organizations, and how do you really communicate the impact? And honestly, I'm going to just slice pancreatic cancer and not talk about pancreatitis for the first few seconds. But when you look at pancreatic cancer, there's about 57,000 new cases diagnosed each year. And then when you look at the number of pancreatic cancer deaths, it's about 50,000 a year. So relatively speaking, in the U.S. population, it's a really small number of all cancer-related diagnosis or deaths. When you look at lung cancer, you look at lung cancer, pancreatic cancer, just all different types of cancer, breast cancer. But like you said, there's been so many known celebrities that has created a lot of awareness towards pancreatic disease, number one. Number two, like yourself with your dad, even with all the research that's going on, not just in the country, but throughout the world, that pancreatic cancer, it's expected that it's going to be the second leading cause of all cancer deaths in the next 10 years. And one of the reasons why so many people are aware of pancreatic cancer, because by the time usually you get diagnosed to the time, unfortunately, that you pass away, it's usually about 6 to 9 months to a year. So it's not like other cancers like breast cancer or lung cancer, where there's pharmaceuticals and there's very aggressive treatments out there. But I think that's why NPF, we're starting to get more recognition for the work that we do, but also regarding pancreatic cancer, because if a family member has been touched, it's just by the time, again, you're diagnosed to the time, most people pass away, it's not that long. It's just a shame. Also, it's projected that the 5-year survival rate of pancreatic cancer is only 9%. So when you look at that, 9%, 5 years out after diagnosis, only 9% of the people diagnosed will still be alive. And that says a lot. But getting back also to, with the way NPF is not only differentiating ourselves from other cancers out there, but I think more importantly, just getting the word out there about NPF. It's marketing 101. Like you said, it's social media on all the social media platforms. It's trying to get a celebrity endorsements, which we'll talk about, later during your show regarding Gala on January 30th. But that's what we're doing. We're a 25-year-old organization that has a really strong brand in the medical community and patient community, but with the general population at large, nobody's really heard of us. And that's why I just appreciate the opportunity to come on your show and other shows to get some visibility of NPF and how they can get involved in their local communities.
Yeah, it's you never know who's going to see this. We don't have a lot of people who watch this show live, and part of that's just because I'm all over the place. I don't have like tune in Friday at noon every Friday. We might end up doing that. I just kind of go with the schedule and want to get people when they're available also. Yeah, it's interesting. That number is really interesting, 9%. I would have thought it's lower. I would have thought it wouldn't even be 9% for 2 years. And again, my perspective, my father is about 6 weeks from when he did. And as I told you previously, he actually had Parkinson's also, which kind of, it probably hit it a little bit and we didn't know. So he probably had it longer. I don't think it would have been 6 months, but it definitely was probably longer than 6 weeks. So, I mean, you're in competition with other cancers. And then there's also competition because there's other, organizations that are covering, the pancreas and pancreatic cancer. So, what have you seen, so far that you've been here 10 months on the job? How much is it that you're just kind of putting your stuff out there? Do you have to compare yourself to others, or do you have to just say, hey, this is what we are, and we want you to help?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Matt. I think it's all of the above. Like I said, one of our key talking points, differentiation points, is that NPF, National Pancreas Foundation, is the only charity in the country that deals with all types of pancreas disease, meaning pancreatic cancer, pancreatitis, FCS syndrome. But honestly, I welcome the competition. And whenever I'm speaking now virtually because of COVID, I always bring up our primary competition because that's what we aspire to. And if you look from a marketing and advertising perspective, our primary competitor is a nonprofit based in California. Our budget is about $2 million a year. Their budget is about $36 million a year. And the reason why it's so much of a difference is because when they were founded basically 25 years ago, the same time that NPF was founded, but they invested in fundraising staff, marketing staff, put some money into advertising. And this was all before social media. And so that's why they, grew really aggressively, and we're still at $2 million. So, since I came on, what we've done, and I should say this, that our administrative costs at NPF, they're 8%. So 92 cents of every dollar goes to research and patients. And honestly, I've been in the nonprofit world my entire career, and that's unheard of. So when we can go out to a donor and say 92 cents of every dollar goes to programs and research, that's unbelievable. But with that being said, one of the first things at NPF, and again, it's like you're saying with your business, we've really, spent a little money. And when I say a little money, I'm talking about very little money to really beef up our social media platforms, to beef up the look and feel of our newsletters, we're working on our website. So we're just really focused right now on external community to change the look and feel and then engage people, whether they've been touched by pancreatitis or pancreatic cancer or not, that we want the message at MPF to say, look, you can have a tremendous impact in curing pancreatic cancer one day. And that's what our message is, basically, to the general population. And it's interesting. I don't even know, Matt, if I said this when we first spoke, when we were introduced to each other, but my mom passed away of pancreatic cancer like 5 or 6 years ago, and it was the same thing. By the time she was diagnosed to the time she passed away, it was about 9 or 10 months, which relatively is a long time with pancreatic cancer. But since I've taken this job, whether it's family, friends, just anybody in general, and I talk about the work I'm doing now, and it's kind of like somebody knows somebody who has been touched by pancreatic cancer, whether it's a neighbor, a family member. And again, like you alluded to a few minutes ago, just the celebrities that have passed away in the last 6 months, it's creating so much awareness. And I hate to say it, but we're just taking advantage of the opportunity with the people that have passed away to really open up the educational components and the outreach at MPF. So we have a long way to go, meaning to impact the work at MPF. But the other thing I would say is one of the reasons why the progression of breast cancer, lung cancer, brain cancer have paced so quickly to find one day a cure of it, because funding from the federal government, whether it's the NIH or CDC or the Department of Defense, does a lot of funding also, is that when you look at pancreas disease and pancreatic cancer and pancreatitis, we're the lowest on the totem pole regarding federal funding, which is a shame. And that's one thing NPF is working on with other organizations in the same space, is really to lobby the Capitol to get more funding. And also with the Biden leadership coming in, and health disparities with the African American and Hispanic community, we're looking at just kind of slicing and dicing our work to really follow the flow of the federal government to get increased funding.
Yeah, so a lot to unpack. There's all these tangents and follow-up questions. I guess we'll start there. Is there some type of numbers on what this disease is, who this disease is affecting? Black, white, male, female?
Yeah, well, again, there's about 57,000 people annually that are diagnosed newly with pancreatic cancer. And then each year with pancreatitis, which is an inflammation of the pancreas, and it's one of the most painful diseases I've ever seen. It's just, the more I get educated on pancreatitis, it's amazing, whether it's acute, which means, you get flare-ups of pancreatitis, whether it's chronic, which is ongoing, or whether it's pediatric pancreatitis. I didn't realize it, but 500,000 people a year are also diagnosed with pancreatitis. And most, even emergency room physicians, when somebody comes in with abdominal pain and it's diagnosed as pancreatitis, they first think it's because of alcoholism or excessive use of alcohol. And the reality it is, and a lot of it is because of genetics. So I wanted to, just throw that out there on the pancreatitis side. But when you look at the African-American community, it's 10 times more likely for an African-American, whether it's male or female, to develop pancreatic cancer because of genetics, hereditary issues, diet. It's the same thing with diabetes and high blood pressure. When you look at health disparities of any minority population, again, I'm talking about African American, but it's pretty similar in the Hispanic community. So NPF is about to work with a Congressional Black Caucus and about 20 to 25 national associations and organizations to really do an educational series on prevention in the African American community for pancreatic cancer and pancreatitis. But to answer your question, it's more predominant in the African American community, but there's probably 7 to 10 risk factors why it's so much higher than the Caucasian community. But it goes back to your earlier question. That's why MPF is just looking at subsets of the population in the United States that we can get more traction, but also get more impact. The other thing I just want to mention really briefly, outside of our patient programs, each year we grant about 6 research grants through to fellows, meaning up and coming pancreas disease researchers. So each grant is about $50,000. So it doesn't sound like a lot, but when you have that compiled with a research you're already doing, we're already seeing results uh, of one day finding a cure for pancreatic cancer and pancreatitis. So that's a big part of the program of our work that is funded solely by donors, where every year we have a review committee of physicians, and they grant 6 grants each year, $50,000, and we've been doing that for about 18 years, and the results have been tremendous.
No, that's very encouraging to hear. Couple of things just going back. Have you reached out to Alex's wife? She's very vocal on social media, and I think she might be a good advocate.
Yeah, actually, we have one of our board members who's based in Los Angeles. She's really plugged into the celebrity community because her brother's a screenwriter and has written for numerous movies that all of us have heard of. So we actually, a board member had a conversation with Alex and his wife and his manager. Off the record, even though it wasn't publicized, he was really sick. I mean, he was sick because he had pancreatic cancer, but he would still tape his shows on Jeopardy and everything and be a trooper and be a warrior. But even like 4 or 5 months, 5 to 6 months before his death, he was really, really sick. But the public and his team did a really good job of just not hiding it, but not publicizing it. So we had those conversations, and we were working with his team to do something on our gala, but he was so sick and weak that it never transpired. So we've taken a little downtime before going back to his wife to see if he can do something. But we had the conversations, and we felt really positive about it. But then through the grapevine, we heard he was really sick, and it kind of fizzled out, just to be sensitive to not only he and his wife, but to his kids and everything.
Yeah, I was telling you, we watch Jeopardy all the time, and we were when we heard he died, we were just shocked, because especially me, because of the experience I had with it, and he looked so good. I mean,
Yeah.
you could put all the makeup on the world with someone. You can tell when they're emaciated or emaciated. I don't know what's the right word.
Yep, you're right.
And so we didn't, we were real shocked. But I would think, down the line, she could definitely be a good advocate. And she's very big into. She just seems like a good person. Like, everyone talks about when someone dies, what a good person. And it's really funny to me that very rarely do you hear someone say that guy or that woman was a real asshole. Yeah. And there's a lot of assholes out there. So how is it possible that every celebrity who dies is like the greatest person and all this? But he, by all accounts, he seemed like a very good person. And, and she's, what I've seen from her, I mean, I'd love to have her on this show to talk about it, but it just seems like they want to help. They want to help people.
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, I think that was a good analogy, and that's what I heard through a board member who's very familiar with the Trebek family, that even before he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, of how nice of a person he was and how he and his wife would give back all the time. But what I've heard also from Hillary, who's a board member, that the last few months he was in so much pain, but he would just suck it up, which is just amazing to me on a personal level, and tape his shows up until, I think, a month before he passed away. And, even with, I guess his executive producer, I've seen a couple of pieces of, he was saying, because he knew Alex personally, because he was with him for 20 years, of how much pain he was in going between tapings, going into his dressing room and everything, that sometimes he was just in excruciating pain, but he would suck it up and go back to the set like nothing was wrong. It was just, I mean, you talk about and I've said this before, but you talk about courage, and, something's wrong with, when we as a society look at, and don't take this the wrong way, not just you, but your listeners, is, we judge heroes by, celebrities, sports stars, Hollywood stars, and things like that. But you go into a cancer unit at one of your children's hospitals, and you're with a 1-year-old, a 5-year-old that has cancer, and you see what they're struggling through. And I've done that, numerous times throughout my career because of my work. And then you really see who the heroes are. So it kind of grounds me. And that's why I really appreciate subject matter today, that, just to expose people, not just with pancreatic cancer, but just cancer as a whole, of what it does, not only to the patient, but also the spouse, significant other, the primary caregiver, the family, not just when the person passes away, but it's as stressful emotionally on the caregiver, as you know, probably from your experience with your dad, on the caregiver, as it is on, the patient in different ways. And that's why when it comes to chronic illness or chronic disease, the divorce rate is so high, is because, the caregiver has a lot of empathy, but the stress and emotional toll on that caregiver and family is tremendous. So that's something that NPF is looking at addressing with family retreats going into 2021, and then, summer camps in 2022 past COVID, to look at the social emotional impact on the patient and the family of the work that we do.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't just end when someone, when their battle is over. So that's something that's great to hear, and no need to apologize. There's a lot, these actors and influencers. I mean, we're gonna do a whole nother show about this. They're all, most of them are full of it, but they have the platform, and
Yeah.
have a platform. You can choose to use it however you want, whether it's to further yourself and those around you, or to further certain causes. You look at someone like Chadwick Boseman. No one knew he was sick, and he's still going to hospitals and doing all. And a young guy. I mean,
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, he could have been doing anything this guy wanted to do for the remainder of his. Knowing that it was. What would you do if you knew you had 2 months to live or 3 months to live? I don't know that I would be going out and going to hospitals and doing that. I don't know, and I'd like to think I do a lot of good, but
Right.
it doesn't make you a selfish person. It just makes you want to appreciate those people more. And so, the people have a lot. The topic of this really gets me, because there's so much money being wasted on elections, and hey, look at the Anheuser-Busch and Super Bowl ads. Like, they just get all this publicity because they're not putting an ad on, and they're going to put it towards vaccines. Like, let's use all this $1 million. How about this thing yesterday in the stock market with GameStop? Like, how about we use some of that money to actually do good in the world?
Yeah.
I'm not here to spend other people's money.
Right.
But, there's got to be something that where we know where the money's going to, and that's the big thing that I have with charities and politicians. I don't donate to any politician. I was on Twitter all of last year saying, you don't need my money to win this election, because what happens when you lose?
Yeah, it's interesting you said that, because when you look at just in the cancer space, again, whether it's breast cancer, lung cancer, brain cancer, colon cancer, prostate cancer, when you look as a whole, and I don't have the number in front of me, but even the hundreds of millions of dollars that are going into research, but you look on the other side of the Department of Defense budget, or just budgets that are in the billions of dollars. And it's interesting. Before I took this job, I was raising money for a nonprofit associated, with the University of Miami, Sylvester Comprehensive Cancer Center. And every month we would have a physician come to what we had it's called a president's meeting with about 350 people. And two younger physicians or researchers, one was in lung cancer and one was in brain cancer, and on separate occasions, both of them came with up to the podium, and during their 20-minute speech, both of them said, respectively, that in my lifetime, brain cancer and lung cancer will be cured. And like, there was a gasp from the audience, and then when we had questions, literally a dozen people got up and said, since you said it, it's like bullshit. How you bullshitting us? How can you say that within your lifetime, within the next 20 to 25 years, there'll be a cure for both brain cancer and lung cancer? And both of them confidently said, with the medical technology, with the genetic testing, with the pharmaceuticals that are coming out, it's a guarantee that will take place. And that's pretty shocking when you can have some of the most, not just nationally, but world-renowned research is saying in my lifetime there'll be a cure. But it goes back to your point about where federal funding or where donations go. There's, what, everybody has a cause, whether it's charity, political, no matter what it is. But think about, gaining some momentum with making investments in charities. And let's just talk about cancer. I don't care if it's American Cancer Society, the Children's Brain Tumor Network, but you consolidate all that funding and get additional funding from the federal government because it's so low. And you think about the impact that you could have, not just in the US, but throughout the world. It's pretty astounding.
Yeah, it's, I'm probably on both sides of this to think whether or not we'll have a cure for the cancers, because I think about how much money and time has been put into it. And then I look at, I'm on a plane watching, talking to whoever I want, just the technology and the craziest things that we've been able to do, but haven't been able to do some of this, makes me a little bit doubtful that they will, no matter how much money they put into it. Again, not to say we shouldn't keep trying. And
Right.
then focuses more for me on, hey, how do we make their lives better while they're still here? How can we make it from, how can we get that 9% up to 20%, and then go from there? Because, man, 5 years is it goes fast, but it's a long time, especially when someone knows that they're towards the end. And that's why the causes that I like to do, wanting to know where the money is going to, and really, having stretch that dollar, like you said, 92 cents. That's great, because there's just so many causes need help. It's like, how do you choose? Let's talk about you personally. But before you started doing all this, how do you choose? How do you choose which you want to get involved in? Is it more of there's a need and someone comes to you? Is there a lot of people who get into it, say, look, I want to be a part of this and help this, maybe because I have an experience, maybe because, it's just something that is for them?
Well, I think there's two things. Number one, I think that what's personal to you, meaning not just to you and me, but to your listeners and just everybody, every citizen in the U.S., that what's important to you personally. Is it somebody who had, family member who passed away from pancreatic cancer? Is somebody who, suffered from domestic abuse? Is it somebody who suffered from, addiction, alcohol, or, drug addiction? So I think the first thing is what are you passionate about? What do you want to, just wrap your arms around? The other thing is that, there's three things when you look at getting involved in a charity. It's time, talent, and treasure. And it's not that often that you can find somebody that can give all three, meaning time, talent, and treasure. But, where can you give your time? Where can you volunteer at a food kitchen? Talent, if you're an accountant, can you serve on a committee, at a finance committee of a nonprofit, and give you talent? And the third thing is treasure. Whether it's $10 or whether it's $1,000,000, the great thing about charitable giving in the U.S., it's a lot of people giving a little money or a lot of money that really impacts the mission of an organization. So I would just encourage your listeners also that, what are you passionate about? And it's not always about the money. It's going to spend time with a vulnerable population. I'd look at it like that. The second thing is, the mission impact and the efficiency. And I appreciate you, reinforcing NPF, that 92 cents go from every dollar. But when you're getting involved in a charity, whether it's, financially, anything else, what I really encourage people to do, and I do personally, is go to Charity Navigator. It's kind of like a watchdog for all charities in the United States. So you can see when they were founded, what their 990s, which is their tax returns, nonprofit tax returns. You can also see that every charity has a rating on it. It's up to, I think, a 4-star rating. So that's one of the first things to do, whether it's donating or whether it's volunteering. You always go to Charity Navigator and make sure it's a credible organization, but also where dollars go, where the organization says it's going to go. And that's really important because there's organizations that are in the news throughout the year where, like 85 cents of every dollar goes to overhead and only 15% goes to the mission. So that's really important that a lot of people in the general population they'll know about is you always get Charity Navigator. I do, and I've been in the profession running organizations for going on 30 years.
Great. So, one of the main reasons why we're on here today is to talk about your big event that's coming up this weekend. So tell our viewers what the event is and why you guys are pretty excited about it.
Yeah, we're not pretty excited about it. We're so psyched. It's going to be a great event. So we used to have in-person galas in some key cities, New York, Boston, and Pittsburgh, that raised almost $1 million. And I've never been to them because they were before I started. Then COVID hit, and we're like, we can't have in-person galas. What are we going to do? So we started 6 months ago looking at a virtual gala. We have a creative company based out of Atlanta called Out of Our Minds Creative, and we put together this gala, this virtual gala that's going to be over the top. What we do is we have Peter Frampton, the Grammy winner. Do You Feel Like I Do? He's making I guess primary performance. He's our primary entertainment. He'll be giving some guest message and also playing a couple of songs. We have Angelica Hale from America's Got Talent. She's she's 13 years old. She's a singing sensation. She's the only one that got the golden buzzer on AGT twice, once during her initial appearance and then during I don't even know what rounds they're called, but I think they were talent from all over the world. So she's singing a song she wrote over the last 5 or 6 months. We have Kim Raver, who is on Grey's Anatomy. She plays Dr. Teddy something, but she's making a guest appearance. So we have the A-list celebrities, but more importantly, we're implementing our first annual Legacy Awards, and they're for clinicians and volunteers that have devoted their lifetime achievements to pancreas disease. And I've already seen a couple of the edited awards over the last couple of weeks. And honestly, I see this all the time, and it brought me to tears. So we welcome your viewers and listeners to, attend Gala. It's this Saturday, January 30th from 7 to 8:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And what they need to do is go to our website, pancreasfoundation.org, and you just go to the gala and fill out the form. And at the bottom of it, there's a special code, and it's sponsor TIX. You put the code in, SPONSORTIX, and I think it's running as a ticket mat on the screen. But what they'll do is put sponsor TIX at the special code, and they can get on board. They can attend the gala for free.
That's great. We really appreciate that. I'm gonna sign up. It's on my calendar, but I haven't registered yet. I'm definitely going to. I was looking to do some promo for how to set up this thing. It's unbelievable to me how Peter Frampton is not in the Hall of Fame.
Isn't it crazy? Like it's funny you just said that, because when we secured Peter Frampton as our musical entertainment, and I joined the Peter Frampton fan page, and all the buzz like daily is, why isn't Peter Frampton in the Hall of Fame? It's pretty nuts, isn't it?
He's so unique, and I don't know. I don't know what look. I love all kind of music, and I can appreciate music even if it's not something that I like. To say I think, oh, I see why people like it. I've been to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It's a really great experience. But I don't know. It's just hard to tell. Like, it's like the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Yep.
Do you follow this? How is it possible that there's not one person who's worthy of being in the Hall of Fame?
That's true.
There's no transparency about, like, I posted this online, like, your stats don't get any better. You are who you are. So you're either Hall of Fame worthy or you're not. And that's what, why it's difficult for, in baseball, like, why are you on the ballot for 10 years? You're not going to get any better. It's just going to be different people who are voting. So now you're thinking, it's just weird to me.
Yeah, I didn't realize it, but Frampton's album, Frampton Comes Alive, sold 10 million albums. So you figure just from that alone, outside of his work from Humble Pie and everything else, that he would be in the Hall of Fame. But let me tell you a really quick story of how nice of a guy Frampton is. So for our larger donors, $2,500 and above for the gala, he sent copies of his memoir that was just released. And his agent and his team just wanted Peter to.
Not, you went on mute for a second.
Can you still see me?
Now I got you. You went on mute for a second, but you're back.
Okay, sorry. So, Frampton's team, they just wanted to stamp the memoir with just with a stamp. And Peter said, no, this cause is really important and the work that MPF is doing. So, he personally signed each one of the books. So, Matt, I'll make sure I'll send you one of the books. But it just goes to show you that, we look at our celebrities also about how much money they're making. It's part of the conversation we just had a few minutes ago. But most celebrities, and I've worked with a lot over the last 20 years with musical and sports stars just through the work I do. And 9 out of 10 are so humble and really nice people. And for Peter to say, no, this is really important to me, I'm going to personally sign each one of these books. It says a lot about, what he thinks about our organization. And he didn't know anything about it pre-Gala. But again, the invitation is extended to all your listeners and any of their family and friends. We're just trying to drive, people to the Gala so they can learn about the work we're doing and how we're saving lives.
Does Peter have anything that draws him to this? I mean, how did you get, what went through to getting Peter?
No, he doesn't. Peter has his own charity because he has this little known disease that number one, I can't remember what it is, but number two, I can't even pronounce it. I mean, it is like so rare. And actually, when I saw him about a year and a half ago in where I am in Florida, he was talking about his disease in charity. But it's kind of weird. I just cold called his agent and said something through the website, and the conversation started going on, and they learned more about us. And Peter said that he'll do it, and it was just, what. It's the old adage, if you don't ask for the sale, you're not going to seal the deal or whatever it is. And I just called his agent because that was the first concert I ever went to as a kid. And I'm like, from a personal perspective, I'd like to see if we get Frampton. And my first email and call, I engaged his manager, and it was just so positive from
Great.
He's going to do it and do the songs in his house and the welcome message. It's just been a lot of fun, but I think that's really going to come out this coming Saturday night.
Like, it's a couple hours of your time. I don't understand how people don't give more of it. Even like, he's going to sing live.
No, it's actually taped because we're using a live Ustream, so probably about 50% is live in a studio in Atlanta. But with Frampton and Angelica Hale from America's Got Talent, we couldn't afford any technical hiccups, even though we're using top technology. So it's going to look like a TV show, Matt. It's interesting you asked that question. It's going to be really seamless with intros and outros and everything like that. But we talked about doing it live, and it would ruin the whole gala if anything happened, and we'd have to get the backup footage and things like that. So long story short, it's taped, but it looks like it's live.
Yeah, hour and 15 is perfect. You're going to pack a lot in that. I'm excited to watch it. I'll be there. I hope some of my followers will put this again. We don't have a lot of people watching right now, but we're gonna blast it out. So we'll share it, and to my LinkedIn family and my Facebook family, and hopefully get some activity and get some engagement, some chatter. Send it to, if anyone can donate, that would be great too. However anyone can help this cause, we would greatly appreciate. I know you would too. Talk a little bit about, so we're ridiculously excited about Saturday night. What happens Sunday? What are you guys working on for the rest of this year? What has you excited about the future, 2021 and the rest of it?
Yeah. Well, first Sunday I'm sleeping.
Yeah.
And then after that, we're not going to miss a beat. Is for your viewers and newly engaged people with MPF, one of the biggest things about MPF, going to our website, if you're diagnosed with pancreatic cancer and pancreatitis, on our website, we have throughout the United States 117 centers of excellence. They're vetted out by MPF. So if you have pancreatic cancer, pancreatitis, you want to go to the best medical centers in the country. And there's probably 1,000 of them in the country at minimum. Even your small regional hospitals have a cancer center. But I'm telling you, one thing you want to do, if it's pancreatic cancer, you want to look at an MPF Center of Excellence on our website. And for all general cancers, Matt, you want to make sure that cancer is NCI designated. NCI, it's National Cancer Institute. Every center that's designated NCI approved goes through rigorous, not training, but approval process. They're on cutting edge research. Over the last 4 years since I've been in the cancer space, I've learned that family, friend, myself, whoever, if you're diagnosed with cancer, you don't want to go to a non-NCI designated cancer center. If your listeners don't listen to anything else I've said today, that is literally the most important thing. NCI, no matter what type of cancer. So anyways, so what we're doing is we're working more hand in hand throughout the year after the gala with 117 centers through the accreditation process. And we're going to open up kind of like patient groups, community groups in those centers. We have chapters throughout the country. And honestly, before I came to MPF, they were pretty loose and not a lot of stringent criteria. So we're beefing up those those chapters. So if anybody, even if you're not affected currently, a family member by pancreatic cancer, if you want to volunteer with a great organization, we'd love to have you in the city that you're living in, a town you're living in. So, outside of that, what we're doing is we're in fundraising mode. Our goal this year is to go from six $50,000 research grants, which we talked about a little while ago, to a minimum of 10. So there's a lot of people throughout the country that could fund, which is a lot of money, don't get me wrong, but to fund a $25,000 grant from their family or individual, because there's a lot of wealthy Americans. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to fast track the research through funding from MPF on pancreatic cancer. And that's what our goal is, really, to kind of what you were saying about your social media channels. We've beefed up LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and we're going to take this once I get the link and put it on all our social media platforms also. But we're in fundraising mode. We're encouraging our chapters to do fundraising events, small fundraising events. It might be a bowl-a-thon, a walk-a-thon, but anything to raise awareness and funds to really help the work of us. The other thing we're doing, just really briefly, and it's going to be noted in our gala on Saturday, we're starting something called Camp Hope. And it's a pediatric pancreatitis camp that's going to be in different cities throughout the country. But because of COVID, we're going to do family weekend retreats in about 6 locations throughout the United States, because like we were talking about earlier, it has such an impact not only on the parents with pediatric pancreatitis, but the siblings too, because all the attention goes to the sick child. So we're starting weekend family retreats. And then in 2022, we're going to be running our summer camps throughout the country. So, and then which you had spoke about and I have spoke about with the health disparities, we're getting a African American initiative up and running, and we're working with medical associations. We're going to be working with a NFL alumni association and things like that. So we're just trying to form as many third-party partnerships that will take us to the next stage of growth for the National Pancreas Foundation.
Yeah, I mean, you could send a family to a cabin in the mountains, and they can stay away from people and just, get a chance to have some fun and some together time. Is there what's the age group for pancreatitis and pancreatic cancer? Is there a median age? I mean,
No.
pancreatic cancer seems like it's older, like probably my age of 40s and higher, and then maybe lower on the other side.
Yeah, without a doubt, you have metrics that you just mentioned in ages. Is pancreatic cancer? It's probably, although one of our co-founders, she started the organization because her sister-in-law died of pancreatic cancer at age 38, but isn't an adult disease, probably in the 40s, and as you get older, the instances of pancreatic cancer increases dramatically. Pancreatitis, it starts at infancy. and it's often misdiagnosed. It's projected that every year 275,000 children are diagnosed with pediatric pancreatitis. So it's just, I mean, it's out there, but like I said earlier, most emergency room physicians do not know how to diagnose it. So one of the things before I started the job, uh, back in April, my board chair, the chairman of the board of the National Pancreas Foundation, invited me to go to FDA meeting where we were lobbying the FDA, and I use that in quotes, but lobbying the FDA to look at additional pain medications for pancreatitis, because the pain associated is worse than having kidney stones on the worst day. It's crazy. And so we had two panels during that 3 hour meeting. One was adult pancreatitis, and the other one was uh, child pancreatitis. And because it was a panel in front of the FDA, there were 4 or 5 kids between the age of like 15 and 18. And honestly, I had.
Not lost volume again. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Now I can. Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Uh, so on that panel, it's my end, so I apologize.
Oh, no worries.
So there were 4 or 5 teenagers talking about pediatric pancreatitis. I had not, I had heard the word. I didn't know what the heck it meant. To hear what these kids go through is just amazing. And part of our gala, the mom of Rebecca Taylor is the child, and she's 17 years old. She was in she's had pediatric pancreatitis for years, and she's been hospitalized, I think, 25 times. But recently, she was in the hospital for over 3 months. She was just released, I think, 2.5 weeks ago, and they didn't know if she was going to make it. But what's amazing about this story, she just got accepted to Harvard. So you talk about tenacity, but pancreatitis, if you don't know, and most people don't know anybody afflicted by it, the pain is just like, I've never seen anything like it, even though I've worked, from a professional perspective in the medical space for nonprofits for 20 years, 25 years. It's just crazy.
Yeah, it's almost like, I'm big into mental health with same here, but there's so many people fighting a battle that you don't even know. Like they don't go around telling you, hey, I got all these pains, and I can't, I'm dealing with this. In fact, most people don't tell you about it. Yeah. And go about their daily life. Tell me a little bit more about your background. Obviously, you're here 10 months. What have you worked on from the early days, and what are you most proud of some of the work that you've done?
Yeah, well, I think I feel when people ask me what I do and why I've been doing it for 25 years plus, is that I feel really lucky that I make a decent living, but I get to instill my value system in my daily work. And I've had mentors that, from early on, from 27 years old, that retired at 55 years old from UPS corporate office or Bell South corporate office. And they said, both of these guys individually said, if I could do it all over again, David, I'd do what you're doing. And I'm like, look, how crazy is that? You're going to retire by 50 or 55. You're going to be worth literally millions of dollars. And how could you see that? They're like, look, we never spent any time with our families. Our kids were in rehab. I've been married 2 or 3 or 4 times. And, and it just, money isn't everything. So, instilling my value system in my daily work is great. And, I see the impact on my work. And this is going to sound really corny, but I say I'm in the business of saving lives. And most of the charities that I've led, it's been, a transplant foundation, cancer-related organizations, things like that. So literally, the more money I raise and the more programs and research that we fund, I know I'm making an impact. And, getting back early in my career, I have an MSW, Master's in Social Work, but it's in administration. I did some clinical work initially, but I always knew I wanted to help people. And I knew I didn't want to do clinical work and stuff like that. So I started my career with United Way in Atlanta. And when I left United Way, I was raising $80 million a year plus every year for, a few years. So I built a foundation to really run organizations. And that's what I've done like the last 25 years. And what I like doing is going into a charity, a nonprofit that doesn't have a really strong brand, and I go in and really position them for growth with realigning the staff, building a robust marketing communications program, realigning the board with a mission, just, focus on fundraising. So it's like what I get a jazz out of is like any small business or medium business. And what you do, Matt, is that although on the charity side, I go in and build a relatively small business, not from the ground, but my job is to take it to scale. And yeah, it's stressful sometimes, like any other business regarding revenue and meeting budget and stuff like that. But getting back to my first comment is that I feel fortunate that I'm in the business of saving lives and impacting lives, and I get paid for it. So I feel I'm really lucky.
Yeah, it sounds like a cliche, but if we can save one life or impact one person's life, then it was all worth it. And so that's why we talk about it. We never know who's going to be listening, who's you click on the like button and share it. And I'll encourage everyone that I know to just click like on this, and let's see, let's spread the word and get more people. Just, you need the visibility of it, because there's some people who want to help and they don't know how to help. There's some people who aren't even aware this is a thing. I mean, especially on the pediatric side, it's so we're all about visibility.
Yeah.
You never know who's going to help. You never know who's listening. And
Well,
yeah, it's great. I think it's great what you do.
With a gala, and us talking about to get gala tickets for free for any of your listeners, invite your family and friends. I think you and I often forget that because I think we're both in Florida, correct, Matt?
Yeah, I'm in South Florida.
Yeah, so we forget how it's winter in other parts of the country and how it gets dark early, and then especially with COVID. So why would you not turn away a free ticket with some great entertainment? And it's for a cause. It's for a great cause. But even if you're like, pancreatic cancer, I don't, have a charitable bone in me. It's some great entertainment. It's in the middle of the winter. It's COVID. Everybody's indoors. A lot of people are indoors. So take the opportunity to, listen to some great entertainment. And it's an hour and 15 minutes out of your lives. But I think you'll learn a lot about, just cancer in general and what people go through. So we're excited for your listeners to, take the gala information and the promo code, and not just for themselves, but pass it on to whoever you want. Just go viral with it.
Yeah.
The more the merrier.
I don't know if I have the power for it to go viral, but that would be great. I reached out to an ex-girlfriend of mine who actually introduced me to Frampton, and because she loves him and wanted to go to his show down here at the Hard Rock. And so she's like, all right, we're going. I'll go see anyone anytime.
Right.
I'm excited, dude. I pass along to her. She's going to tune in.
Awesome.
Hopefully she can help. She's got a lot of friends who are, known people. And so hopefully they can help. I always like to end the show with, some just rapid fire, quick questions. Do you have a favorite movie or TV show of all time that you talk about?
Yeah, and oh my God, I knew you gonna. Well, I didn't know you were gonna ask me that. I have two really funky movies that go back years, and one is Tattoo.
Okay.
And the other one is, I can't remember. It's the Amazon something where this kid gets his dad's clear cutting the Amazon jungle because he's an engineer and going in, and the kid gets lost. The little kid gets lost, and he gets brought up by Indians in the Amazon forest. It's just crazy. It's just a nutty movie, but I wish I could remember the name of it because your viewers would probably get a kick out of it. And the other one again is Tattoo.
Google it. We'll figure it out. How about a favorite food? Is there a food that you like that's your go-to?
Yeah, my girlfriend looks at me and rolls her eyes. It's definitely a Vietnamese.
Okay.
She's like, no.
Yeah, that ties into my next question. Do you have a favorite? Because a lot of people say go out there and travel because of the food and the culture. Do you have a favorite place that you've traveled, and also a favorite place that you haven't been that's on your bucket list?
Yeah, definitely want to go to Vietnam and also Bora Bora. But like most people, favorite place I've been there, I guess 3 times is Italy. But it's like most people. I think when COVID, when everything opens back up, there's going to be a, flux on travel and everything. So we'd like to go to like Southeast Asia and just experience that culture a little bit.
My sister and I went to Italy, and we were in Florence and Rome, and then we did a day trip. And one of the places was we went to Siena, Chianti, and then San Germano.
Yeah.
Really, really cool little, just it's a day trip, but it was really cool. How about a bucket list? We talk about diseases. There's a lot, like when people have bucket lists because they know that the end is near. Is there something on your bucket list that, it could be travel, it could be sports, it could be, who knows, an experience skydiving? Do you have anything that you think about?
Not, that's a good question because a couple of people have asked me that, and I really don't. My attitude in life is too short, and it's just seeing people that have, been taken away too early because of, organ transplants or cancer or pancreatic cancer. So I just try to live my life with doing what I want to do, with having a respect for other people, of course. But I don't really have a bucket list, and it's interesting since we're talking personally. My girlfriend doesn't believe me that I have a bucket list, but my attitude is live life to the fullest as you have it, and work's work, but the most important thing in your life should be family and friends.
Always.
Yourself with family and friends and spend time with them is like, my bucket is pretty full.
But the question is, like, if you won that $1 billion Powerball and you had the time and the money, like, what are you doing first? I know you're going to give, and I know, but personally, like, what are you going to be doing first? And it's something for you to think about. Well, you'll tell me the next time we talk. Last question.
I'd buy a Ferrari.
Yeah. Did you see the new Corvette? My friend just posted it. It's like a weird looking Corvette's got a new model that's really different than anything.
I know.
Car person, take a look at.
Amazing. You said it's your car or your friend's car?
He just posted about it. He doesn't have it.
No, it's like, the new models are just like crazy looking. It's just, they've done a good job of redefining the look of them.
So my favorite question, last question is, you got 24 hours you could spend with anyone in the world. They have to be living. Who is it, and what are you guys doing?
It's definitely my daughter, and just spending quality time.
Okay. I should have said celebrity, but that's a good answer. We've got
the Abraham Lincoln.
No, they got to be alive. You got to be able to do it. I'm going to tell you what, we're going to have a follow-up show where I'm actually going to make it happen. So that's what people need to say. Who's alive? Who do you want to hang out with? We've had Obama, and we've had all these interesting people. I'm going to make it happen, and we're going to do a recap show.
All right. I'm going to work on that.
All right. You'll let me know. You don't have to let me know now. But listen, really appreciate you taking the time. I love what you're doing. I'm going to help you any way I can. Tell everyone else, again, if they just tuned in or if they're get to the end and they skipped it, tell them about Saturday night. Tell them how they can get more information about what you're doing. Tell them what they can do to help you. And let's get this thing rolling.
Yep. National Virtual Gala this coming Saturday, January 30th, 7 to 8:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Entertainment: Peter Frampton, Angelica Hale from America's Got Talent, Kim Raver from Grey's Anatomy. Look at our website, pancreasfoundation.org. Hit the button where the gala is on the banner ad. Take it to purchase tickets, fill out the information, and at the end, put in the promo code SPONSORTIX, SPONSORTIX, and you'll come for free as Matt and my guests, and the more the merrier.
Yeah, we got it's on the banner on the bottom, so that's where you can get some more information. Go to the website, go to the gala link, put in SPONSORTIX as the promo code. Join us on Saturday night for a great night of entertainment and some information. It's for a great cause. Help out any way you can. Tell someone. If you can't help, tell someone else who you think can help. I really appreciate the time here, David. We look forward to many more conversations. We have to thank Heather for connecting us. Heather's just a great connector. I'd love to have her on the show one day too. I don't know. I don't see her on LinkedIn a lot, but anyway, she's a great connector. I really appreciate her connecting us. I look forward to many more conversations. Reach out to anything I can do to help, regardless of what it is. Appreciate you coming on to the Wolff Den. And until then, we have another show tomorrow at 1 p.m. I think it's at 1 p.m. I'll have to check. check out my LinkedIn tomorrow. The Wolff Den. We have another episode. It's a pretty cool company that is doing great things in the world of sports and entertainment and auctions. So thanks again, David. Look forward to Saturday night, and we'll talk to everyone soon. Have a great day.
Thanks, Matt. Take care.